some people have said that parkour athletes, they are athletes. They are not the people who are writing big essays, doing heaps of research and things like that in order to be informed. You know, they need to go and talk with the people and go to these places. Well, not when you have researchers that can carry out and do the research for you. So I am a researcher. I'm an academic, or at least trying to be. So here's why you shouldn't work with the FIG, basically. This is why you should be in charge of your own activity. Okay, so this is a summary of all the main points. What can we learn from all the other action sports that have gone before us that are dealing with these issues endlessly? Okay, so windsurfing. Okay, from windsurfing we find out that if an international federation who has already consumed you decides they don't really want you anymore, they can just drop you. They voted windsurfing out of the Rio Olympics, and after heaps of backlash, they managed to get back in. Okay, but if they want to drop you, they will. What else can we learn? The national federation of that sport, in this class, windsurfing, even though it has an international body and has national bodies, the IOC only recognises sailing, and so yachting comes under sailing. And that means that yachting is in charge of everything to do with the Olympics. Windsurfing can't touch it. Okay, they're not involved at all. In New Zealand, context specifically, Yachting New Zealand is in charge of selection, and they're in charge of divvying out the money that they get. And so that money basically goes to all the other sailing classes. And even though windsurfing has won the most medals, they didn't even get picked. They had no athletes. No windsurfing athletes were picked by Yachting New Zealand to go to the Rio Olympics. Cool. So that means that at the Olympic level, if your community is not in charge of, you're not in control of your own sport, then someone else will make all the decisions. Awesome. Okay. BMX. Not going to describe any of the history of the stuff, but basically BMX has quite a rich cultural heritage. It comes from motocross racing initially. But through the evolution of that activity, whether they wanted to do it or not, I don't know how it happened, but the International Cycling Union took over BMX, and BMX in New Zealand is fully embedded under Cycling NZ. That means that the money from the IOC that goes to the New Zealand Olympic Committee, that then goes to Cycling New Zealand. Cycling New Zealand decides how they split that money up. They had a $6.2 million budget in 2015. 1.6 million went to track cycling, and 291,000 went to BMX. And mountain biking, which we could also lump in here as well, actually, they received about 14,000. Okay, another action sport. Basically, yeah, getting shafted financially because the body that's over the top of it can decide which of their codes gets the money. Cool. That's nice, isn't it? Okay, snowboarding. Crazy stuff if you know any people who are involved in snowboarding. Snowboarding, cool. Competitions from the 80s, big thriving industry, and in 1990 set up the International Snowboarding Federation, and they were bringing all the competitions together, and then the International Ski Association, Ski Federation saw it and thought, oh, I'm going to do something like that, so they started a rival competition in 1994. The IOC, already buddies with the Ski Federation, sanctioned the Ski Federation as the international body for snowboarding, and ever since then there's been endless rows back and forth. That battle ended up bankrupting the ISF, and in response to that, all the national snowboarding federations that were around banded together, created the World Snowboarding Federation. They have actually just got together with the TTR, you should look it up, and now a very, I think, strong organisation, which is great. But they have been fighting ever since. So if your sport ends up getting events that are governed by another group, in this case, like snowboarding and skiing get to create new competitions, new rule formats, which they have done, and prevent other. Basically, the IOC recognises the FIS events as qualifying events, and other arrogant, stupid stuff that the International Ski Federation has done, like at the Sochi Olympics in 2014, they used ski people to create the half pipe, and apparently it was dangerous. Shaun White didn't participate because it was crazy. There's a very specific group that basically all the snowboard competitions use to make it, because they know the community, they know what it needs, and FIS said, no, we'll do it our own way, and it was the worst. So yeah, you can if you end up let anyone get a look in at what you're doing, and it takes off, and the IOC supports it, then yeah, you're going to be fighting for ages. Skateboarding, okay, just looking at coming in at Tokyo 2020. It sounds, from my research, there may be more to it, but the IOC went to the International Roller Sports Federation and basically offered up skateboarding to them. This is cool. You should run it. You guys do stuff with wheels. Skateboarding has wheels. It's the same thing, right? They then recognized the International Roller Sports Federation, or FIRS, as the governing body for skate, except that they don't even have an Olympic sport. They're recognized by the IOC as a body, but they have no Olympic sports, and they know nothing about skateboarding. And so they realized that they actually had to involve the International Skate Federation, and there's some issues between ISF and World Skate Federation. I think they're suing them. Or WSF is suing ISF. But anyway, IOC tell FIRS to run it, realize, oh crap, they actually know nothing. I guess we have to ask ISF to help out. But while that was happening, FIRS decided, oh, okay, so now we're in charge of skate. Let's start our own new whole competition, just like the snowboarding and skiing scenario. ISF said, no, you're not doing that. That's a piece of crap. Don't do that. So they're not doing that anymore, but they had to fight for it. Basically, joint custody issues, bad news. Okay, so it's possible that the IOC has actually been involved in terms of telling FIG, hey, this is cool, we want you to do this. Maybe not just the movement. Who knows? Climbing, excuse me. Climbing, under the International Sport Climbing Federation, has preliminary recognition with the IOC. Okay, so they're their own thing, recognized by IOC. Cool, sounds like, hey, that's maybe they're in a good position. Except for the fact that with their inclusion with Tokyo 2020, they didn't even decide their own competition format. Bouldering, lead climbing, and speed climbing. Speed climbing is kind of an outlier. These other two are your outside ones, bouldering and lead climbing. Speed climbing is this is what the organization deals with primarily, is standardized, codified, same holds everywhere, and you just practice the same route over and over and over and over again. Kind of unclimbing, like, in a way. But anyway, they had said, hey, let's do it all, let's have all of these events. And the IOC, without this federation being present at the meeting, they decided what the format was going to be, and it's become what's been called a vertical triathlon. So it's the best score over all three. So athletes, even if initially they used to be specialists in one event, now have to compete in all three of them. And so that's changing the whole participation in the World Cup events for climbing, because now that's the format, and so everyone has to climb that format in these World Cup series in order to get qualified for the Olympics. So the IOC's decision is changing the way that climbers are having to train for these competitions. And then finally, a quick look at OCR. From my understanding, the OCR community doesn't really care so much about this, because the and yeah, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that modern pentathlon is basically drawing from OCR to make their sport more exciting. I don't think they really care about governing the sport so much, but they're like, hey, this is cool. We can use it to make us cooler and better. Okay? They don't care about the community. They don't care about that. The point is improving things for themselves. Okay? So we can take all of these things and we can go, I wonder if it's a good idea to work with Fig. No, it's not. It's not good.